Welcome to the world of science fiction stories, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe my channel. Enjoy the listening. Admiral Tessa Reeves stood at the viewport of the Celestial Wanderer, her weathered face reflecting in the reinforced glass as she studied the blue-green sphere below. Planet Terranis was considered a scientific anomaly by the Galactic Conclave, a world that appeared habitable but registered no complex life forms despite ideal conditions. "How long until the survey team is ready?" she asked, not turning away from the view. Lieutenant Pax adjusted his uniform nervously. "20 minutes, Admiral. The Norians are expressing concerns about the expedition." Of course they were. The Norians, tall, silver-skinned humanoids with multifaceted eyes, had always been the most vocal critics of exploring Terranis. Their representative, Ambassador Varrock, had lobbied against this mission for months before reluctantly conceding to scientific curiosity. "Tell them their concerns are noted," Tessa replied, her voice carrying the authority of her 50 years in service to the Conclave fleet. "But we're proceeding as planned." Something about this planet called to her. Perhaps it was the strange electromagnetic anomalies that periodically pulsed from its surface, or the way its atmosphere seemed to shift and recalibrate as if breathing. For 300 years, Terranis had been marked as uninhabited yet restricted, a contradiction that had gnawed at her scientific mind. The descent to the surface was uneventful. Their shuttle landed on a vast plain bordered by crystalline formations that caught the light of the twin suns and scattered it in prismatic patterns across the landscape. The air was breathable, just as the scans had indicated, sweet and fresh, carrying hints of vegetation and water. "Spread out," Tessa ordered the team of 12 researchers. "Standard survey protocol. Dr. Voorhees, take point on geological samples." The tentacled Aquarian scientist bobbed in acknowledgement, his specialized equipment already mapping the mineral composition of the soil. They worked methodically for hours, cataloging, sampling, measuring. Everything seemed normal, pristine, too pristine. Tessa found herself growing increasingly unsettled. There should be ruins, remains, evidence of evolution or extinction. But Terranis appeared as if it had been crafted rather than formed. "Admiral," the shout came from Specialist Jormund, a burly Centaurian whose 6 arms were operating a complex scanning device. "I'm picking up a signal." Tessa hurried to his position, her heart rate increasing. "What kind of signal?" "It's artificial, rhythmic, coming from beneath the surface approximately 2 kilometers down." Jormund's secondary eyes narrowed. "It doesn't match any known conclave communication pattern." "Can you isolate it?" The Centaurian's fingers danced across his controls. "Attempting now. It's encrypted, but the algorithm seems primitive." A strange sound emerged from his device, a pattern of beeps and tones that shifted, repeated, evolved. Tessa felt a chill run down her spine. She had heard something like this before in her academy days during a band history lecture that had nearly cost her mentor his position. "Morse code," she whispered. "Pardon, Admiral," Jormund looked confused. "It's an ancient human communication method. Binary signals arranged in patterns to represent letters and words." Tessa's voice had dropped to a near whisper. Even mentioning humans was considered distasteful in polite conclave society. "Humans?" Jormund's voice carried equal parts disbelief and unease. "But they've been gone for over 3 centuries. The Great Plague." "The Great Plague that conveniently affected only human worlds," Tessa finished. "Yes, I'm familiar with the official history." A sudden tremor shook the ground beneath them, subtle at first, then gaining intensity. The crystalline formations began to hum, resonating with the vibrations. "Everyone back to the shuttle," Tessa ordered, but even as the words left her mouth, a circular section of ground before them began to shift, soil and stone sliding away to reveal a metallic surface beneath. A hatch. The tremors ceased as abruptly as they had begun. In the silence that followed, the team could hear mechanical sounds, locks disengaging, systems powering up. The hatch began to rotate, unlocking itself from the inside. "Admiral, we should leave," Lieutenant Pax insisted, his hand hovering over his sidearm. "No," Tessa replied firmly. "This is what we came for. This is what they've been hiding." The hatch opened completely, revealing a shaft that descended into darkness. Lights began to activate in sequence, illuminating a ramp that spiraled downward. And from below came a voice, synthetic but unmistakably designed to sound human. "Life forms detected, initiating Protocol Lazarus. Verification required." Tessa stepped forward before anyone could stop her. "This is Admiral Tessa Reeves of the Galactic Conclave Fleet." "Conclave identification noted," the voice responded. "Biometric scan initiating." A beam of blue light swept over Tessa's form, lingering on her face and hands. Genetic markers identified, human DNA present, welcome descendant. The team erupted in surprised murmurs. Tessa had never revealed this aspect of her heritage. Her grandmother 7 generations removed had been human, a fact she discovered through illegal genealogical research and kept hidden throughout her career. Impossible, Ambassador Varrock's voice came from behind them. The Norian had followed them down secretly. Humans are extinct, their world sterilized, their colonies abandoned. Is that what they told you? Tessa didn't turn to look at him. Or is that what your ancestors helped make happen? The ground beneath them trembled again, but differently, almost like a heartbeat awakening. The conclave lied, Tessa said, her voice firm. Humans weren't wiped out by a plague. They were systematically eradicated because they were unpredictable, because they questioned too much, because they wouldn't bow to the conclave's vision of a controlled galaxy. She took another step toward the open hatch, and I think this planet knows the truth. Admiral Reeves, I must insist you step away, Varrock said, his voice tight with barely contained panic. By order of the High Conclave, this facility must remain sealed. So the Conclave does know about this place, Tessa replied coldly. How interesting that it wasn't in our briefing. The voice from below spoke again. Security breach detected, non-human hostility registered, activating defense systems. The crystalline formations surrounding them began to pulse with energy, changing from translucent to a deep, pulsing red. The ground vibrated in a different rhythm now, not random tremors but a coordinated pattern, like machinery coming to life. What have you done? Varrock whispered, his silver skin paling to an ashen gray. Tessa smiled grimly. I haven't done anything, but I think Tyrannies, or should I say Earth, is finally waking up. The crystalline formations surrounding the landing site pulsed with increasing intensity, their red glow casting long shadows across the landscape. Admiral Tessa Reeves stood her ground as the rest of her team backed away, their faces masks of confusion and fear. Admiral, Lieutenant Pax pleaded, we need to evacuate immediately. But Tessa remained transfixed by the open hatch and the ramp descending into Earth's depths. This isn't a threat to us, she said quietly. It's responding to him. She nodded toward Ambassador Varrock, who was now frantically speaking into his communication device. Emergency protocols authorized, the Norian was saying. Target Tyrannies for immediate containment procedures. Authentication code Omega-7 extinction. Tessa's hand moved to her sidearm. Ambassador, I suggest you stop transmitting immediately. The ground beneath them shifted again, but this time with purpose. Sections of the plane began to separate and rise, revealing complex machinery that had lain dormant beneath the surface. What they had thought was natural terrain was in fact an elaborate camouflage system. The precautionary fleet is already on its way, Varrock said, his multifaceted eyes reflecting the red glow all around them. This world will be sterilized just as it should have been 3 centuries ago. Dr. Voorhees, the Aquarian scientist, moved his tentacles in a gesture of disbelief. Sterilized, but the Conclave Charter explicitly forbids planetary destruction. This is not destruction, Varrock replied coldly. It is prevention. What sleeps beneath this world cannot be allowed to awaken. The synthetic voice from the underground facility spoke again, louder now, echoing across the plane. Hostile intent confirmed, initiating full defensive posture, Earth protection protocol engaging. The crystalline formations suddenly shot beams of concentrated energy skyward, a coordinated lattice of light that rapidly expanded to form a dome over their position. In the distance, similar formations activated, the protective barrier extending across the visible horizon. What is happening? Jormund asked, his 6 arms instinctively reaching for various scientific instruments to record the phenomenon. Tessa felt a strange calm descending over her. The planet is defending itself, Earth is alive. A new tremor shook them, stronger than before. The ramp leading underground suddenly illuminated with bright blue light, and from its depths emerged a figure humanoid but clearly mechanical, its body composed of flowing metal that seemed almost liquid in its movements. I am Guardian, it announced, its voice resonant yet synthetic. Geo-integrated Universal Automated Response Defense Intelligence and Network, last defense protocol of humanity. Ambassador Varrock drew a concealed weapon, but before he could aim it, the crystalline formations nearest to him pulsed once and he froze in place, paralyzed by some invisible force. The Norian species, Guardian stated, approaching with fluid steps, primary architects of the human extinction campaign, primary perpetrators of the falsified plague narrative. Tessa stepped forward. Is it true, was there never a plague? Correct, Admiral Reeves. The extinction of humanity was deliberate, orchestrated, and methodical. The Galactic Conclave, led by the Norian High Council, determined that human expansion presented an existential threat to their established order. Guardian's metallic features shifted, displaying what appeared to be historical data streams across its surface. Humans questioned too deeply, created too freely, adapted too rapidly. The Conclave feared what they could not control. But how did Earth survive? Dr. Voorhees asked, his scientific curiosity overcoming his fear. If they had the power to eliminate humanity. They lacked the power to destroy Earth itself, Guardian replied. Instead, they masked it, renamed it, classified it as uninhabitable, but beneath the surface we waited. Earth's final defense, not a weapon but a memory. The ground suddenly split open in several places around them, revealing massive cylindrical structures that rose from the depths, cryogenic chambers, Tessa realized with a shock. Thousands of them. Are those people, Lieutenant Pax whispered. The last of humanity, Guardian confirmed. Not just bodies but minds, consciousness, culture. When the extinction order came, Earth's defense systems activated. We could not save everyone, but we preserved what mattered most, the essence of humanity. Above them, the protective energy dome shimmered as something impacted against it. The first salvos from the approaching Norian fleet, Tessa guessed. The shield will hold, Guardian assured them. Earth has been gathering energy for centuries, preparing for this moment. The crystalline formations pulsed in unison, and the ground beneath them resonated in response. Tessa could feel it now, not just machinery, but something more organic, as if the planet itself had become intertwined with the technology left to protect it. How is this possible, she asked. A planet cannot be sentient. Not naturally, Guardian agreed. But in humanity's final days, our greatest minds merged quantum computing with planetary geothermal networks. Earth became our processor, our memory bank, our guardian. Over centuries, this symbiosis evolved beyond our original design. The cryogenic chambers began to emit a soft blue glow, and within some of them Tessa could see movement, the first stirrings of awakening. They're alive, she breathed. And they remember, Guardian said. Every human preserved here carries the true history of what was done to their species. The lies told by the Conclave, the worlds that were sterilized not by disease but by directed weapons platforms. Ambassador Varrock, still immobilized, managed to speak through clenched teeth. You don't understand, humans were unpredictable, dangerous. Their technological advancement was exponential if left unchecked. If left unchecked, we might have created something beautiful, came a new voice from behind them. Tessa turned to see one of the cryogenic chambers had opened. A woman stood there, disoriented but standing, her dark skin contrasting with the white preservation suit she wore. Her eyes, though clearly adjusting to the light, held a fierce intelligence. Dr. Imani Washington, she introduced herself, her voice raspy from centuries of disuse. Lead scientist of Project Guardian, and I must say, she looked around at the transformed landscape, our creation has exceeded expectations. The impact against the shield intensified, the dome flickering momentarily before stabilizing. The Norian fleet is attempting a concentrated assault, Guardian informed them. Dr. Washington nodded calmly. As expected, Admiral, she addressed Tessa directly, you carry human DNA, you are part of what they tried to erase. A distant ancestor, Tessa admitted. I never knew until genetic testing revealed anomalies. The information is restricted in Conclave databases. Of course it is, Dr. Washington said with a sad smile. They wouldn't want anyone remembering that humans helped found the very conclave that betrayed them. More cryogenic chambers were activating now, dozens across the landscape, each containing a preserved human. The planet itself seemed to be humming, a low vibration that Tessa could feel through the soles of her boots. Dr. Washington placed her hand on one of the crystalline formations, which dimmed slightly at her touch. These aren't just defense systems, they're Earth's nervous system now. When humanity faced extinction, we merged our technology with the planet itself. Earth became our ark, our fortress, our memory. And now, Tessa asked, sensing they stood at the precipice of something momentous. Dr. Washington's expression hardened as she looked skyward at the attacking fleet. Now Earth remembers, and so will the galaxy. The crystalline formations suddenly pulsed in perfect unison, sending a concentrated beam of energy skyward that pierced through the protective dome without damaging it. The beam split into hundreds of smaller trajectories, each targeting one of the Norian vessels. What's happening? Lieutenant Pax asked, his voice hushed with awe. Earth is broadcasting, Guardian explained. Not just energy but information. The truth about humanity's extinction transmitted directly into the Conclave's communication network. Every ship, every world, every data terminal connected to their system will receive it. Dr. Washington nodded. No more lies, no more erasure. It's time for humanity to return to history. The ground beneath them trembled once more, but this time it felt almost like laughter, ancient, patient, and finally awakened. The Norian fleet's bombardment intensified, a storm of energy weapons raining down upon Earth's protective dome. Each impact sent ripples of light cascading across the shield, yet the barrier held firm, drawing strength from the planet's newly awakened systems. Dr. Imani Washington moved with surprising agility for someone recently emerged from centuries of cryosleep, her fingers dancing across the control panels that had risen from the ground. Earth's defensive capabilities are far beyond what we originally designed, she explained to Admiral Tessa Reeves. The planet has been evolving. Evolving, Lieutenant Pax echoed, watching as more cryogenic chambers opened around them, disgorging confused but determined human survivors. How can a planetary defense system evolve? We integrated quantum neural networks with Earth's geological systems, Dr. Washington replied. We expected adaptation, but this, she gestured to the crystalline formations pulsing in rhythmic harmony, this is something more. The system has developed a form of consciousness. Ambassador Varrock, still partially immobilized by the crystalline restraint field, laughed bitterly. This is precisely why humanity was deemed too dangerous. You create without understanding the consequences. And you destroy out of fear, came a new voice, deep and commanding. All eyes turned to a massive cryogenic chamber that had just unsealed itself. Steam billowed from its interior as a tall figure emerged, broad-shouldered, with a weathered face and eyes that seemed to hold the weight of ancient wars. Captain Dominic Terk, he introduced himself, straightening to his full height, commander of the Earth Defense Force's final stand. His gaze swept over the assembled group, lingering momentarily on Tessa. You carry our blood, however diluted. My great-grandmother many times removed, Tessa confirmed, feeling strangely humbled in his presence. I never knew until genetic testing revealed anomalies. Terk nodded grimly. The Conclave would have purged such knowledge if they'd found it. They've been thorough in erasing us from history. His attention shifted to the paralyzed Norian ambassador, though not thorough enough, it seems. Above them, the assault on the shield intensified. Sections of the dome now glowed white-hot under the concentrated fire, though they showed no signs of failing. Status, Terk demanded of Guardian. The metallic entity's surface rippled, displaying tactical information in rapidly shifting patterns. Earth's defensive shield is currently at 87% capacity. Norian fleet strength, 47 vessels, including 3 Dreadnought-class warships. Additional Conclave forces have been detected entering the system. They're afraid, Dr. Washington remarked, as they should be. Guardian suddenly went rigid, its metallic features freezing momentarily before reconfiguring. Signal detected from deep space. Human signature confirmed. Origin, Sol System asteroid belt. A holographic projection materialized between them, showing a massive vessel emerging from hiding within the asteroid field that had once orbited humanity's original sun. The ship was clearly of human design, angular, practical, bristling with weapons systems that looked primitive by Conclave standards, yet somehow more intimidating for their brutal simplicity. The Retribution, Captain Terk breathed, something like hope flickering across his face. She survived. Incoming transmission, Guardian announced. The hologram shifted to show the interior of the vessel's bridge. A woman stood there, her uniform similar to Terk's but adorned with additional insignia. Her hair was cropped short, and a jagged scar ran from her left temple down to her jaw. This is Commander Faye Blackwood of the EDF Retribution, she stated, her voice carrying the same hardened edge as Terk's. Earth signature confirmed. Is this really happening, or have I finally lost my mind out here in the dark? It's real, Faye, Terk responded, stepping forward. Earth is awake, and so are we. Commander Blackwood's composure cracked momentarily, genuine emotion flashing across her face before she regained control. Status report, Captain. Cryogenic revival in progress. Earth's defense systems operational beyond expected parameters. Norian fleet engaging with predictable enthusiasm. Norians, Blackwood spat the word, should have known they'd be the first to try stamping us out again. Her eyes narrowed as she studied something off-screen. My sensors show they've called for reinforcements. The entire 7th Conclave fleet is rerouting from the Centauri arm. Terk turned to Tessa. Admiral, your allegiance is about to be tested. The Conclave will demand you stand with them against us. Tessa straightened, her decision already made. My allegiance is to truth, Captain, and the truth has been buried for too long. On the hologram, Commander Blackwood nodded approvingly. The Retribution has been monitoring conclave communications for centuries, waiting for this moment. We're not alone out here. Human outposts survived, hidden in the shadows of dead stars, deep within gas giants, camouflaged as mining operations run by proxy species. How many? Dr. Washington asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Thousands, not millions, Blackwood admitted, but enough, and we've been preparing. She leaned forward, her scarred face filling the projection. The signal Earth is broadcasting the truth about our extinction. It's reaching them all. Sleeper cells are activating, hidden facilities are powering up. The ground beneath them trembled again, but this time with a different rhythm, more focused, deliberate. The crystalline formations began to reconfigure, drawing into more complex patterns as they channeled energy from deep within the planet. Earth is establishing communication with other human outposts, Guardian explained, synchronizing defense protocols. Captain Terk smiled for the first time, a grim, satisfied expression. Just as we planned, the Diaspora Protocol, Dr. Washington looked troubled. The Diaspora Protocol was theoretical, a last resort scenario if Earth fell. We never fully implemented it. Some of us did, Terk replied. When it became clear the extinction campaign couldn't be stopped, a select group was tasked with ensuring humanity's survival through dispersion. Small groups, hidden colonies, sleeper ships programmed to awaken only when Earth itself signaled it was safe to return. The holographic display expanded, showing dozens of new signals appearing across a map of the galaxy, small points of light representing hidden human outposts now revealing themselves. 300 years, Commander Blackwood said quietly. 3 centuries of hiding, waiting, passing down the truth from generation to generation, telling our children bedtime stories about a blue world that would someday call them home. Jormund, the Centaurian scientist, had been monitoring his instruments throughout the exchange. Now he looked up, his expression troubled. Admiral, the Conclave communication network is in chaos. The information Earth is broadcasting, the evidence of the orchestrated extinction, it's being received everywhere. Public channels are erupting with questions, demands for explanation. Good, Tessa said firmly, let them face the truth. Ambassador Varrock, who had remained silent, suddenly laughed, a hollow, defeated sound. You don't understand what you've done. The Conclave exists in a delicate balance of power. This revelation will tear it apart. Perhaps it should be torn apart, Captain Terk replied coldly, and rebuilt on a foundation of truth rather than genocide. The shield above them flared brightly as a particularly heavy barrage struck it. This time, sections of the dome visibly dimmed before restabilizing. Shield integrity at 72%, Guardian reported. Conclave reinforcements arriving in estimated 17 minutes. Commander Blackwood's image flickered as she issued orders to her crew. The Retribution is moving to intercept. We'll buy you time to complete the awakening. More cryogenic chambers were opening now, dozens per minute. Hundreds of humans, scientists, soldiers, engineers, civilians chosen for preservation, emerged into a world they had been erased from. Their expressions ranged from disbelief to grim determination as they were briefed by those already awakened. Dr. Washington activated another control panel, bringing up detailed schematics of Earth's defense network. The planetary systems need time to fully integrate with the human consciousness template. Without that merger, we won't have the strength to repel a full conclave assault. How much time? Tessa asked. An hour, perhaps less. Captain Terk nodded grimly. Then we fight for that hour. He turned to the awakened human soldiers who had gathered around him, awaiting orders. Humanity has been patient for 3 centuries. Today, we remind the galaxy why they feared us enough to try erasing us from history. The crystalline formations suddenly pulsed in unison, and a section of the ground before them slid open to reveal a vast underground hangar. Within it stood rows of combat vehicles, aircraft, and weapons platforms, primitive by conclave standards but clearly designed for devastating efficiency. Earth kept these safe for us, Terk said, a fierce pride in his voice. Now we use them. In orbit, the Retribution moved into position, its ancient weapon systems powering up to confront the approaching conclave armada. Commander Blackwood's hologram addressed them one final time before cutting out. 300 years ago, they tried to write humanity's final chapter. Today, we start a new book. As her image faded, the ground beneath them shuddered, not in fear but in anticipation. Earth, long dormant, was fully awakening, and it remembered everything. The sky above Earth burned with the light of ships engaged in desperate combat. The EDF Retribution, awakened after centuries of dormancy, moved with surprising agility for its massive size. Its primitive but devastating weapons tearing through the sleek conclave vessels that had never been designed to withstand such brutal, direct assaults. The Retribution is holding its own, Lieutenant Pax reported, watching the battle unfold on Guardian's tactical display. But the main Conclave fleet will arrive within minutes. Admiral Tessa Reeves stood beside Captain Dominic Terk at the central command node that had emerged from Earth's surface. Around them, hundreds of revived humans worked with frantic efficiency, reintegrating with the planetary defense systems that had protected their slumber for 3 centuries. The Conclave isn't accustomed to resistance, Tessa observed. Their tactics are predictable containment followed by overwhelming force. Terk nodded grimly, a strategy designed for policing compliant worlds, not fighting an enemy that has nothing left to lose. He turned to Dr. Washington, who was rapidly correlating data on a holographic interface. Status of the Awakening Protocol. 73% complete, she replied without looking up. The human-Earth neural integration is accelerating, but we need more time. A tremendous impact shook the shield above them, the energy dome flickering dangerously as a new wave of Conclave vessels joined the assault. These ships were different, larger, their weapons more focused. Conclave Purification Fleet detected, Guardian announced, its metallic features displaying obvious concern. Planet Killer class vessels identified. They're bringing out their extinction arsenal, Ambassador Varrock said quietly from where he remained restrained. You should surrender now, perhaps they will show mercy. Terk regarded the Norian with cold contempt, like the mercy shown to Earth, to our colonies, to our children. Before Varrock could respond, Guardian's form suddenly pulsed with bright energy. Additional human signals detected entering the system, multiple vessels, non-conclave design. The tactical display expanded, showing dozens of ships emerging from jump points throughout the solar system. Unlike the sleek uniformity of conclave vessels, these were a hodgepodge of designs, some clearly repurposed mining vessels, others cobbled together from salvaged parts, and a few that appeared to be captured and repurposed conclave ships. The diaspora returns, Terk whispered, a rare smile crossing his weathered face. A new holographic figure appeared, a woman with silver-streaked hair and eyes that held centuries of vigilance. This is Director Naomi Vega of the Human Preservation Council. Earth, we've heard your call. The hidden colonies stand with you. Dr. Washington stepped forward, her face alight with wonder. Naomi, you survived the Centauri purge. Some of us escaped. We've been waiting, watching, preparing. Director Vega's expression hardened as she glanced at something off-screen. The Conclave has much to answer for. The incoming human fleet deployed with surprising coordination, taking up defensive positions around Earth. They were outnumbered by the Conclave forces, but their positioning was strategic, forcing the enemy to divide their attention. Ambassador Varrock struggled against his restraints. This is madness. You cannot hope to defeat the full might of the Conclave. Perhaps not, Tessa replied calmly, but we don't need to defeat them. She nodded toward Guardian's display, which showed Earth's transmission continuing to spread throughout the galaxy. The truth is doing that for us. The display shifted to show public communication channels across Conclave space. Protests were erupting on dozens of worlds as the evidence of humanity's orchestrated extinction spread. Several member species had already recalled their vessels from the assault fleet, refusing to participate in what was rapidly being labeled a second genocide attempt. Terk studied the tactical situation grimly. The Conclave leadership won't back down, they've committed too much to this lie. Then we give them no choice, Dr. Washington said, her fingers flying across the control interface. The Earth-human integration is at 91%, we can activate the Revelation Protocol. Revelation Protocol, Tessa questioned. Dr. Washington's eyes gleamed with determination. Earth doesn't just remember what happened to humanity. It recorded everything, every transmission, every order, every confession. The complete evidence of the conspiracy, preserved in crystalline memory at the quantum level. And you can broadcast this. Not just broadcast, prove, Dr. Washington replied. With authentication codes that even the Conclave can't deny. Every species in the galaxy will know exactly who ordered our extinction, who carried it out, and who stood by and allowed it to happen. The ground beneath them trembled, not with fear but with purpose. The crystalline formations surrounding the command center began to glow with increasing intensity, drawing energy from Earth's core. Integration complete, Guardian announced. Human consciousness successfully merged with planetary systems. Earth is whole. The shield above them suddenly changed, its energy signature shifting from defensive to something altogether different. Rather than merely deflecting the Conclave's weapons, it began absorbing them, channeling their energy back into Earth's systems. Director Vega's hologram showed her receiving new information, her expression changing from determination to awe. Earth, what are you doing? Justice, Dr. Washington replied simply as she activated the final sequence. The crystalline formations around them pulsed once, twice, and then emitted a blinding flash that engulfed the planet. When vision returned, the energy dome had transformed, no longer just a shield but a massive transmission array directing focused beams toward every major conclave world. Revelation protocol activated, Guardian confirmed. Direct neural transmission in progress. Authentication codes verified. The truth cannot be altered or denied. On the tactical display, they watched as the conclave fleet fell into disarray. Some vessels immediately broke off their attack, while others seemed frozen in indecision. A handful, those bearing the insignia of the Norian High Command, accelerated their assault, desperately trying to break through Earth's defenses before the transmission could complete. "They're scared," Terk observed coldly, "as they should be." A new signal cut across all communications, the unmistakable voice of the Conclave High Arbiter broadcasting on emergency channels. "This is High Arbiter Zenith to all Conclave forces. Stand down immediately. I repeat, stand down." Emergency Council session convened. Ambassador Varrock sagged in his restraints. "It's over," he whispered. 3 centuries of carefully maintained order destroyed in a day. "Not destroyed," Tessa corrected him. "Transformed. Truth is painful but necessary." Around them, the remaining cryogenic chambers continued to open, disgorging the last of Earth's preserved human population. They emerged into a world vastly different from the one they had known, a world where their kind had been erased from history, but where Earth itself had kept faith with them. The ground beneath the command center shifted again, revealing a massive holographic projector. It activated to show millions of signals lighting up across the galaxy map, hidden human outposts revealing themselves, sleeper ships awakening, secret colonies emerging from camouflaged existence. "Humanity survives," Dr. Washington said, tears streaming down her face. "Not just here but everywhere we managed to hide." Director Vega's hologram nodded solemnly. "The diaspora preserved more than just our bodies. We kept our knowledge, our culture, our determination. We taught our children about Earth, about the home that was stolen from us. And we taught them that someday we would return." The Conclave fleet was now in full retreat, with only the Norian command ships continuing their increasingly desperate assault. The human vessels formed a protective ring around Earth, their primitive weapons trained on the remaining attackers. "The Conclave Council is requesting terms," Guardian announced, displaying the incoming communication. Captain Terk looked to Tessa, a question in his eyes. She straightened her uniform and stepped forward. "I will speak with them," she said firmly, "as both a Conclave officer and a daughter of Earth." The holographic projector reconfigured to show the Conclave High Council, representatives of 12 species seated in their ornate chamber. Many looked shocked, some afraid, a few defiant. "Admiral Reeves," the High Arbiter acknowledged, his reptilian features tight with controlled fury. "You have betrayed your oath to the Conclave." "I have honored a deeper oath," Tessa replied. "The oath to truth and justice that the Conclave claims to uphold." A murmur ran through the council members. The High Arbiter raised a clawed hand for silence. "What are humanity's demands?" he asked bluntly. Captain Terk moved to stand beside Tessa. "Recognition of the crime committed against us, reparations for 3 centuries of lost existence, and a place in the galaxy that was stolen from us." "Impossible," one council member hissed. "The political implications alone." "Are your concern, not ours," Director Vega interrupted, her hologram joining the conversation. "The truth has already spread too far to contain. Your choice now is whether the Conclave adapts to this new reality or breaks beneath it." Dr. Washington stepped forward, her expression resolute. "We don't seek vengeance. If we did, Earth's weapons would already be targeting your homeworlds. What we seek is acknowledgement, justice, and restoration." The High Arbiter studied them silently for a long moment before responding. "The Conclave must deliberate on these matters. In the meantime, we propose an immediate cessation of hostilities and the establishment of a truth commission to investigate these historical claims." "The evidence has already been transmitted," Tessa pointed out. "But we accept your ceasefire. Earth has waited 3 centuries for justice. We can wait a little longer for you to accept the inevitable." As the communication ended, Captain Terk turned to survey the awakened humans gathering around the command center. Scientists, soldiers, artists, teachers, the preserved cross-section of a civilization that had refused to die. "What now?" he asked quietly. Dr. Washington looked out over the transformed landscape of the planet that had protected them for so long. "Now we rebuild, not just structures but connections. Humanity isn't just returning to the galaxy, we're being reborn with 3 centuries of lessons learned. The crystalline formations pulsed gently around them, no longer weapons but beacons, calling out to the scattered children of Earth that it was safe to come home. Beneath their feet, the planet hummed with satisfaction, patient, vigilant, alive in ways its original inhabitants had never imagined possible. They erased us from history, Tessa said softly, watching as human ships began descending toward Earth's surface, bringing the diaspora home at last. But they couldn't erase us from Earth, and Earth never forgot. Around them, the ancient soil of humanity's birthplace welcomed its children home, no longer just a world, but a partner in humanity's resurrection. A planet that had refused to let its people fade into oblivion. Humanity had been erased from history, but Earth itself had rebelled, and now together they would write a new chapter in the stars.